I'm sorry.
You guys ready? I think we're,
Yeah,
we're live.
Unless you're talking about that. Get ready.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. This meeting of the Lincoln Safe and Successful Kids Interlocal Board for Thursday, October 18th is called to order. The Nebraska Open Meetings Act is posted and available at the entrance to the room. Angie, would you please call the roll? Here. Present.
Here.
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 Thank you. We have minutes from our meeting on July 31st. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Beitler. Is there a second?
You're right.
Second. I would
Kathy?
second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Angie, would you please call the roll on the motion to approve the minutes?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Now is the time for public comment for items not on the agenda. Would the first person wishing to speak please come forward now? Seeing none, our next item of business is approving the process for developing the protective programming evaluation plan. We'll begin with a motion for approval and a second, followed by a report from staff, an opportunity for public comment, and then finally our board discussion and vote. Is there a motion for approval of the evaluation plan development process?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Duncan.
Second.
Second, Benny. John.
Thank you very much. There'll be two documents that we'll look at in reviewing this agenda item. One is the fact sheet, and then also in your packet is the actual matrix that we'll be using to show how we're gathering evidence for each of the elements of the program review. So first we'll start with the fact sheet. Right underneath discussion and finding of facts, where this process for evaluation is grounded, is the memorandum of understanding that was signed between the city and Lincoln Public Schools in May to establish an evaluation process of the school resource officer program in place in Lincoln Public Schools. It identified 6 goals to be measured. The goals were to create a common understanding that A, school administrators and teachers are ultimately responsible for school discipline and culture, B, SROs should not be involved in the enforcement of school rules, and C, a clear delineation of the roles and responsibilities of SROs as to student discipline with regular review by stakeholders, which is critical, is essential. Number 2, to minimize student discipline issues so they do not become school-based referrals to the juvenile justice system. 3, to promote effectiveness and accountability. 4, to provide training as available to SROs and appropriate LPS staff on effective strategies to work with students that align with program goals. 5, to employ best practices so that all students are treated impartially and without bias by SROs and LPS staff in alignment with applicable city and LPS equity policies. Finally, 6, to utilize best practices for training and oversight with goals of reducing disproportionality. So LPS staff and LPD and city staff came together to look at what were the best ways to measure those 6 particular goals and also be able to receive feedback on that process. And below is what we have proposed as that process, and we're looking for your approval this morning. First, that we'll come together and create a matrix that aligns the 6 goals with existing data sources and proposed new data sources to fill any gaps. LPS and LPD staff will hold a public meeting facilitated by Leadership Lincoln on November 8th to receive feedback in small groups on the evaluation plan matrix and its components, not on the overall program, but on the matrix you'll see this morning. We'll be using 4 questions to be discussed in small groups at that time. As we're there, participants will hear a history of the SRO program. They'll get an introduction to this matrix and the purpose of the matrix, then break up into small groups. Each small group will answer these 4 questions. What questions do you still have about the evaluation plan for the SRO program? What do you think are the major strengths of the evaluation plan? What do you think are the major weaknesses of this evaluation plan? And what have we overlooked in this evaluation plan, or what is missing? There'll also be a parking lot for people that have questions, comments, suggestions that don't fit these 4 questions, but are critical for us to gather in the process. Again, these are all small groups facilitated by volunteers from Leadership Lincoln. We owe a great debt of gratitude to Mick Hale and his crew for being willing to take this on and help us facilitate this from a community perspective. Based on the feedback from the community at the November 8th event, LPS and LPD staff will make adjustments to the evaluation process, matrix, and components. A draft of the plan will be presented back to this board, or to the CLC board in February for feedback to make additional changes, and then it'll come back to this board in March for approval. Not everyone will be able to come to November 8th, and so we'll post online a video of the presentation about the matrix so people can see that even if they're not able to attend. And Lincoln Public Schools has a online comment program. We'll have a special link that will be on both the city site and the LPS site to gather information electronically from the community. They won't have to be on that November 8th date. They'll be able to give that over a period of time. To help with an understanding of the matrix, which is this document, and also what people will see online, we have a copy of the video. If it's okay, I'd like to play that so you can see what people will see. The voice you hear is Dr. Leslie Eastman, who is the Director of Research with our Educational Service Unit 18. She worked with Luke Bonkowitz from the Lincoln Police Department to create this matrix and to align the data sources with the program goals.
The purpose of this video today is to give you an overview of the document that contains the evaluation plan for the SRO program. The document is organized around the 6 main program goals. The 6 goals run down the left-hand side of the matrix that's contained in this document. For each goal, there's a list of relevant analyses as well as information about where the data is located and who collects the data. The 3 primary organizations involved in the data collection are Lincoln Public Schools, Lincoln Police Department, and the Juvenile Justice System. The numbering system in the document is tied to the goals. If you look at the top of the document, you'll see the first program goal, goal number 1, is to create a common understanding that school administrators and teachers are ultimately responsible for school discipline and culture, that SRO should not be involved in the enforcement of school rules, and that a clear delineation of roles and responsibilities of SROs as to student discipline with regular review by all stakeholders is essential. This goal has 2 analyses associated with this goal. The first analysis is labeled 1.1, and this is for to develop a document for LPS staff that contains the information about the role of the SRO. The second analysis is labeled 1.2. This is to create a dissemination plan for this document. If you look in the third column, for the column that contains information about data, you will see 1.1 is LPS SRO document. That corresponds to analysis 1.1. 1.2 is the dissemination plan, and that corresponds to the 1.2 analysis. The last column contains information about who will be gathering and compiling that information. A couple of overall comments about the plan. First of all, the evaluation is designed to judge the overall program. All analyses will be conducted at the district level in order to speak to the whole program. None of the analysis will be at the school level. The other thing that we want to point out to you today is that while many of the goals can be evaluated using data collection systems that are already in place, there are going to be 4 new data collection efforts associated with this evaluation. If you look at the document, for the analysis 1.1, where LPS will create a document that addresses the role of the SROs in LPS buildings, That will be a new effort that will be conducted by LPS. Again, on the document, if you look at 1.2, LPS will create a dissemination plan for this document that's referenced in 1.1. Again, that's new data collection, and that will also be conducted by LPS. If we scroll down to program goal number 3,
Page 2.
which is overall to promote effectiveness and accountability, there are 2 pieces of new data collection. 3.2, which is the student, parent, staff perceptions of the SRO actions. This will be a survey that is developed and administered by Lincoln Public Schools. If you then skip down to 3.6, which looks at the impact of the educational presentations that will be provided by SROs, there will be an evaluation survey that will be developed by LPS and will be administered in conjunction with the presentations.
That's an overview of how the matrix works. You'll notice that each of the program goals is aligned to specific data. The data, either whether existing or new, then is assigned the responsibility of either Lincoln Public Schools, Juvenile Justice, or Lincoln Police Department as far as collection. We'll discuss this at the November 8th meeting. That meeting will be open to the public. It'll be advertised by Leadership Lincoln. We'll also have a press release, share information on social media from both the city and from Lincoln Public Schools, and we hope to gather as many people as we can to that and share their feedback. Also, those people that have reached out to us in the past, we'll reach out to them to make sure that they're aware of it in case they might have missed it through one of those streams. So anyone that's contacted us previously through this last spring, we'll make sure to touch base with. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions or turn to my colleagues who might help as well.
Okay. Cindy.
Thank you. I had a question. The 3 areas of input, or the 3 sources of input, one of them mentioned was the juvenile justice system. So are we talking about a person? Are we talking about data?
Sure. There's already some work being done led by Sarah Hoyle with Lancaster County, and that's who we're referring to in that case. Thank you for asking that. That's a good correction, or good clarification.
Thank you.
Connie?
Good. I was just curious about who we were inviting to the Leadership Lincoln. So if we have groups that we would like to be included, where do I send those names?
I'll be happy to forward a link of as soon as Leadership Lincoln posts something to their website. They're waiting for approval from this morning. As soon as we have that, we'll share that with all 6 of you. Please feel free to share that with any groups that you have. You can always also have them contact me or Mr. Johnson or Mrs. Pierce.
Good. And I'd like to have Malone Center in on those
Absolutely.
discussions. And then my other question is from LPS, we are using, I'm sure, Pete Ferguson's area.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Right.
Youth Development Team, absolutely.
Good, good. Just make sure that they're linked in and they're helping us. I think Bill and Shauna really would like to be included.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor Beitner.
Yeah, John, could you just talk a little bit about the line of separation that would pertain to Program Goal 1B, which states that SROs should not be involved in the enforcement of school rules?
Mm-hmm.
Is there, in the description of the school rules, any overlap between school rules and descriptions of acts that may constitute misdemeanors or other offenses presently in the statutes?
Yes. In fact,
so, I'm wondering if you would talk to whether that delineation is clear.
I believe the delineation is clear. I think it was even clarified more this last year with the passage of LB 1080 that asked for local school districts to sit down with the county attorney and create specific language of where that line is. And then we've done staff development with our SROs and our school administrators to talk through, not just at their building, but across the district, of where that line would be. We have specific language that's included in our important information booklet that goes home to parents and went home to parents this summer, and we continue to include that in our training with SROs and school administrators to be clear on where that is.
Good.
I just have one question. So the interlocal agreement creates the CLC nonprofit board. And one of the roles of that board is to advise us on the work that we do. Will that nonprofit board have an opportunity to provide some feedback on this matrix and plan to this board before we vote to approve it?
Yes, it'll come back to the Lincoln CLC board in February, and that will be after we've had the November 8th feedback session. It'll be polished and hopefully improved. We'll take it through that board as one more filter to take a look at it from their broad perspective, broad community perspective, before it comes back to this board in March.
Fantastic. Yeah, Connie?
I wonder if it would be beneficial for all of us to get a copy of LB 1080. Of course, we can look it up, sent to us. And then would it help those on City Council if we got you a booklet, our informational booklet, so you could see all of the A through whatever it is, letters? Would you like to see that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Please.
Okay. We have both of those. Thanks, John.
Any other questions for John? Okay, thank you. So now is the time for public comment on this item. Would the first person wishing to speak come forward now? And seeing none, we'll proceed with our board discussion before the vote. Is there any further discussion? All right. Angie, would you please call the roll on the motion to approve the process for developing the protective programming evaluation plan?
Yes.
Boswell?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Duncan?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Schill?
Yes.
Thank you. Our next item of business is a report from the Lincoln Community Learning Center's Board of Directors, including our affirmation of the CLC bylaws. We will begin with a motion to affirm the bylaws and a second, followed by a report from staff on the activities of the CLC nonprofit organization, an opportunity for public comment, and then finally our board discussion and vote. Is there a motion to approve? Kathy?
I would make that motion.
Is there a second? Connie?
Second that.
Okay. We'll proceed with the information.
Thank you. As Mr. Boswell was reviewing the bylaws that had been approved by the Community Learning Center Board, he noted that there was an error in the sequencing of the convener board chairs. And so I passed out a revised fact sheet that included that text at the bottom. And so we'd like to suggest that there be a motion to amending Section 6, where it discusses the sequence of the convener chairs. And assuming that the Interlocal Board makes that or approves that motion, we'll take it back then to the Lincoln Community Learning Center's Board for their action and approval as well.
Okay. The amendment has been handed out to board members. Is there a motion to amend?
Do you want me to read what the amendment is? Or do you okay. The amendment would be, it was in reviewing an error, it would be to say that the second vice convener chair shall rotate and be filled by the person serving as past convener chair. That would be the change.
Okay. Is there a second on the motion to amend?
Second.
Second from Benny. All right. Let's proceed then with the report.
Okay, here I go. Now this is me. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Nola Derby-Bennett. I'm the director for Lincoln Community Learning Centers. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about the activities of the CLC nonprofit. We've met twice since this body has last convened. Those meeting dates were August 30th and September 27th. The first meeting pretty much just included passage of the bylaws, appointment of the board tri-chairs, and establishment of the meeting schedule. The second meeting was a little bit more robust. We included a little bit more information about the happenings within the Lincoln Community Learning Center's body. And so we included a recap of the school community coordinator recognition celebration activities. There's a whole week designated to recognizing and celebrating our amazing school community coordinators. And so we did a variety of different things for them throughout the week to recognize their good work within our schools. We acknowledge that 8 different representatives from the Lincoln CLC initiative presented at the statewide after-school conference in 5 different sessions, and those session topics included development of a full-service community school evaluation framework, rockin' with the science and technology of rhythm and music, meaningful maker spaces, quality lesson planning, and from policy to practice, how extended learning opportunities support AQuest and what that actually looks like in the field. So as you can see, we have a lot of experts in our field and within our Lincoln CLC framework that take our knowledge and expertise and share that statewide with our partners. I did want to share, as you all got the notification, that the October 3rd and 4th strategic planning refresh that we had scheduled has been postponed until late spring or summer 2019. The reason for that, and I think I shared in the communication that I had sent out, was that one of our presenters had a health issue that was preventing him from traveling, and we really felt like his involvement was critical to the work that we were hoping to do. And so we decided to postpone rather than push through with the altered agenda. So be looking for a rescheduled date sometime late spring or summer, hopefully, to get that work done. We did present a little bit of data. We do have our demographic and survey data back, but we don't yet have the testing data back, and we don't anticipate that testing data until sometime in November. So once we get that, we'll be happy to pass that along and share it. But in the meantime, I will share some of our demographic and survey data with you all. Last year, in the school year 2017-18, we served 6,917 students in extended learning opportunities, with 3,066 of those being 30 or more days. And that's kind of the benchmark for us, that 30 or 30-plus day students. And then we also had an additional 1,112 students that were served in summer programming. So obviously every year we hope to serve more students, and so you know, we continue to trend up. Every year it seems like we add a little bit more and a little bit more. Just a little bit on the background on the surveys. Those surveys are administered to students, parents, teachers, and community partners by the Nebraska Department of Education, and we receive those results annually. We do receive district level and school level data as well as statewide data, so we're able to compare with how we're doing within the rest of the state, our state partners. And our numbers were consistent with previous years and with the statewide data. So in all of the areas that we were high, the state was high. In all of the areas that we were lower, the state was lower as well. So, and then our sites also use that data to do a lot of their planning. And so that data, that feedback is really important to us in terms of how we set our goals for the upcoming year, and the things that we try to work on. And so, a couple of areas that I thought we were lower in, and again, consistent statewide. One of the areas was in just parent communication in general, and another area was in parents feeling engaged, feeling like they were being engaged by the community learning center at the school. And I would say a couple of things. First of all, we had about 22% return on parent surveys, so it is, you know, not a huge, 22%. So not a huge return overall. But I would say that sometimes I think parents don't realize that they're being engaged by the CLC as opposed to the school. I think it's hard for them to delineate between, which is a good thing, right? We want to be seen as just another piece of that school day. And so I think it's hard for parents if they're thinking about, okay, I'm being invited to this event. Who is in charge of this? Who is engaging me? I think they just think that any invitation is the school's invitation. And then I think one of the things that a lot of our sites are really starting to recognize is that we need to do a better job of communicating with parents in a way that that they like to be communicated with. And so I think this is the scourge of social media, right? This is where our sites are still doing little, you know, newsletters with clip art, and that's kind of how they're thinking about school communication happening, rather than really quick bursts of you know, just tiny bits of information. And so I think that that's a piece. I've seen actually a few annual plans with that as a goal, that communication piece as a goal. And so I hope to be able to report next year that those two numbers are coming up for us, and even potentially higher than the rest of the state, because that's something that a lot of our sites are really focusing on, is that, you know, we know that we're communicating with them, and yet they're reporting that they're not getting it or they're not seeing it. And so we want to make sure that they're recognizing that that's coming from us. So just a couple of little anecdotes about that survey data. I think that that's really important, and we want to be responsive to what our parents and our stakeholders are telling us about our work. What else? So a couple of exciting pieces around the funding that's been approved for through the interlocal agreement. We have hired a family and community specialist. She started on September 9th, so we didn't waste any time with getting that person up and going. Her work is really going to, I think, bring us closer to that full-service community school model by really intentionally working to engage the families and neighborhoods consistently across our system. And so I think you'll start to hear some of the initiatives and some of the pieces that she's beginning to kind of put together as she continues to get her feet under her in that position. We are also finalizing the details of a contract with Chris Wisenhunt of Wisenhunt Consulting, who will be providing us with grant writing, report writing, and grant seeking services. So we're really excited about that. We think that that will be another opportunity for us to continue to leverage a good support of the city and the school district into other dollars that we've never been able to bring into Lincoln before. We have asked sites, we have a lot of programming funds, and so we've asked sites to complete a proposal for how to use those interlocal fund programming dollars. Just a couple of highlights, some of the proposals that I've already seen come back. One of them includes a 3D printer to be used in the after-school clubs led by a middle school industrial tech teacher. And then there's another one that I thought was really fun, a socio-emotional club led by a therapist using the Clifton Strengths Finder. So I have let all of our sites know that every single site is going to benefit from these additional dollars. And so I'm kind of hoping that as they continue to think through their current programming and think through the holes that are in their current programming, we start to see some really robust and exciting, and once they see their friends and colleagues begin to put programming in place, they'll really start to think and plan and think big about the kinds of things that they could be bringing into their sites for our students. So that's really exciting. We have also included some training funds. We've been coordinating quarterly Saturday curriculum trainings for our after-school teacher assistants. One training in September was around bringing the arts into our after-school programmings. We had presenters that taught our site coordinators how to bring improv into their after-school programming. We also had representatives from Flatwater Shakespeare and somebody who taught our sites how to make music out of everyday items. So some fun things happening as far as training goes for our sites. And then finally, we are purchasing 2 mobile makerspace trailers from Beyond School Bells. We hope to have those trailers in place maybe I would say maybe by the beginning of second semester. Those trailers are basically mobile curriculum that can be moved from site to site to enhance STEM programming. So they're fun, they're really exciting, they bring a lot of energy, I think, and so I think that will be something else that will help our sites to enhance some of the current programming that they have. Our upcoming nonprofit board meeting is scheduled for October 25th, and we will continue to share with the board the impact and goals of the CLC strategy, bringing everybody kind of up to date and on the same page with the work that we're doing within the CLC strategy. And then I did want to invite all of you, I think most of you have already been invited to the Lights On After School event. It's happening on October 25th at the Belmont Rec Center from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And the theme, it's a nationwide event, so every year after school programs across the country get together and all do an event on the same day. It's called Lights On After School, and the theme this year for us is families in community. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Kathy?
I have 2. The
Yes,
first
ma'am.
one is you hired a family community specialist that started on September 9th. You referred to her as she.
Yes, Lindsay
Is she-
Limbach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the second one is when you talked about the mobile makerspace trailers, you said they'd be available at the end of second semester. So
Beginning of second semester.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was just like, so you're waiting till school's out?
No, yeah, we're in the process of getting them ordered right now, and so we hope that it just takes a little bit of time for the build out, and so I'm hoping that they'll be in place by the beginning of second semester. Sorry if I misspoke.
Second quarter.
Yes, end of
There we go.
second quarter. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Connie?
Great. Nola, really, I just wanted to comment on a few things and tell you thank you so much. This is a lot of work you've done. Wow, I'm impressed. Great hire with Chris. Probably the
Yeah.
best grant writer I know in the city.
She's good.
Wow. And then I love your getting the maker mobile spaces. I've
Yeah.
had a lot of, opportunities to go in those. They are amazing. That is awesome we have them for our children because
Yes.
it's greater Nebraska that are getting them and Lincoln wasn't getting any.
Right.
So I'm so excited we have them. So
Yeah.
good
yes.
job.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. We'll be able to, with 2 of them, we'll be able to spread them out amongst our different sites. So we'll train all of our staff so that they know what they're getting and they know what to do with those items. And they're not just a trailer full of fun toys, but they're actually really useful learning opportunities for students. And so, yeah, we'll see those out at the schools. We'll move them around and it'll be really good for kids.
Good. When you have them at one of the schools, let us know. We should all
Absolutely.
come and look at them. 'cause
Yeah, I
they're
will
just
absolutely do that. Yep,
good. Thanks so much.
absolutely.
Any further questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now is an opportunity for public comment on the amendment and motion to approve the bylaws. The first person wishing to speak, please come forward. All right, seeing none, we'll proceed with the board discussion on the bylaws and amendment. Kathy?
Will we be approving those simultaneously or separately?
So there's been a motion to approve the bylaws, followed by a motion to amend. So we will first vote on the motion to amend, and then we will vote on either the original or amended motion, depending on the outcome of the first vote.
Just wanted to make sure
Yep.
we were all on the same page.
Appreciate that. Any further discussion? Angie, would you please call the roll on approving the amendment to the motion to approve the bylaws?
Yes.
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 Okay. Is there any further board discussion on the motion to approve the bylaws as amended?
So I just inquired of Lynn Johnson, and I just wanted to let everyone know, he indicated that this then will go back to the nonprofit board and be ratified, and so that we're all working on the same page.
Yep, that's correct.
That was my
And that
question
was your
also.
question.
What was the process? Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, Angie, would you please call the roll on the motion to approve the bylaws as amended?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Our next meeting will be Thursday, November 8th at 7:30 a.m. in the Lincoln Public Schools District Office Boardroom. The focus of that meeting will be a report regarding the Community Learning Center programming. There being no further business before this board, this meeting is adjourned.